Hello. Thank you for watching this. So we got a software update yesterday from Leica, and I first thought that there was a couple of small things, not a big deal, but I've realized that there's some large things that are really going to affect your workflow. So I'm going through what those points are a little bit, driving through there. If you ever have any questions, you want me to go over things with you, I'm always happy to do that. Just reach out to me. Really happy to for free, like sit down, get you rolling. It's always my pleasure. Please don't feel intimidated and not knock
So
on
the
my
first
door.
thing that
Okay,
you're going to
cool.
notice, which I'm not showing on here because I've already started up my software, is when you start the software, it's going to ask you if you are from China or if you are from another country. And you're going to click the international part of this as you start the software. And there is, so the reason why exists is it's a way of sharing the data about the software and the function of the software back to like a company. So you need to go ahead and say accept the data, and then it will start up normally. And as you start up the software, it's the same settings that you used before with machine underneath configuration and DMI8 as well. Once you start up the software, for the most part, it looks pretty much the exact same. I'm going to run through some of the basic changes. So this die assistant is going to be the exact same thing that we had before. So I'm just going to choose just the solid 4. I've got a basic sheep's muscle slide on here. And the biggest change I have to say is the way that you deal with gain on the detectors. So I usually, as most of you know, like to use a line sequential. I like to split it up between these two sequences. I'm also happy to give anyone a training update if you ever need to. Do you want to turn on these lasers? Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm going to close this out. So what I want to show is here is for the gain. This is a Heidi S detector, and it will say smart gain disabled. I'm not able to increase the gain at all. The default setting is that you cannot increase the gain. In fact, what you have to do is go to operating mode and chew it from counting to analog. What this software update did was it kind of shifted it to a more quantitative, like really scientific mode of capturing your data. And I'm going to go here, IDS mode, and from counting, I'm going to go analog, and that's on the S. That will allow for me now to be able to use the gain. So as I go fast live, I'm over here, I'm able to click on this detector and increase my gain the way that I normally do on an X detector. So if I click here, my setting 2, I'm going to go fast live. On my X detector, I can't do gain as well, but I mean, it is pretty bright. I mean, you may not even need to do this. It's just if you need that brightness. So from counting, I'm going to go to digital, and I'm going to go fast live, and I'm going to be able to adjust my gain as much as I want. So going to my next high DX for the 632 signal, we can see it's pretty blown out. I'm going fast live, and I'm on here, and I'm going to, oops, I have to stop it. Operating mode from counting to digital, analog for the S. I see these and it's all set. That is literally the major change. And it may be a stumbling block for some of y'all. Let me know. Happy to jump in with you. And it really doesn't matter what you tries to do. If you want to keep counting or you want to keep analog, you want to keep digital. The only thing that I would suggest to you is that you keep consistency. You consistently shoot the same things in the same way. And you may find that some of these channels you prefer over others to have different setups on them. So the next thing that you're going to see that is very different, which I actually like, is this kind of a Nikon thing. You click on at the top XYZ, and you are now able to move around with your mouse as a controller. So I'm just clicking and grabbing to move my frame instead of using the controller, which is really brilliant. And I'm focusing up and down with the wheel in terms of Z if you want to do that as well. Okay, so how do these things look? You may be noticing the other thing is the way that these channels are viewed over here on the side. Instead of saying channel one or channel two, they now directly have the antibody that they're targeted against. So this is AF488, AF635. The reason why they're doing this is that they've also introduced another new software where you can use 8 to 13 channels. We are now moving into bulk kind of data acquisition modes where we need to have better signifiers for these things besides channel one and channel two. So here it's 488, 635. And if I do my fast live on this one, it's my 405 channel or DAPI and 568. So when I was doing this previously, I got a little lost and I was like, okay, well, how do I find my overlay between them? This is still the overlay channel, but what I found was it had it by default already overlaid. So you see me clicking on the right-hand side of the single versus multiple partitions. The default setting when you first open it is one single partition that has an overlay with your channels. If you want to see them separately, which you do want to, you want to click this to see multiple channels, and then that way you can look at your lookup table to be able to adjust your gain and laser for good pixel intensity values. Just to show you that again, that's here, single, multiple, single, multiple. If I'm going back to multiple, the overlay I can see like this. Now, I used to like to be able to click in and out on that overlay. But if I click, it literally is just doing the movement. Let's see, if I unclick it, the XYZ, it allows for me to click in and out. So just remember to turn that XYZ off. If XYZ is what you're using to navigate around in here, turn it off if you want to click it between there, right? The only other change is when you set up an acquisition in Navigator. So don't forget, Navigator is where we spiral around and we look at our slide in general, and then we make a couple of informative decisions about automation or what sort of acquisition that we want to take care. So I do want to run through a particular type of acquisition that a lot of y'all are doing, which is a SITC, if I have a chance. What I want to tell you is that the major software update here is having an accurate time at the bottom when you do end up starting these larger acquisitions. So let's say that you want to have a stitch Z here, but you do have a certain degree of drop off. One of the things that you can do is obviously you can put in focus points. Don't forget focus points. Let's see here. I jokingly call them F bombs. Sorry. Focus points all the way around. Just make sure we have some really nice focus values in here. And then I'm going to open up my focus map. And what I can do is I can actually find all of my Z values by autofocus. And don't forget that it's just going to be taking a Z stack through here, and it's looking for the Z stack that has the brightest contrast. That Z stack is performed by the first channel. So I think it's doing it for green. It's taking a Z stack, fixing that value, and then once it goes through those Z stacks, then it will propagate those Z's on the end. And normally what I used to do was have everybody set up Z stacks and then go around their tissue and their XY and make sure that it was encompassed within the Z stack. But in fact, the better way of setting this up is to use the focus points and then click a Z stack and have it recenter. So as we finish this up with the Z focus points, I'm going to show that and illustrate that a little bit more. So you see it does autofocus on all of these, and it's going to then propagate those Z values. So it propagates all of the Z values here. AFC looks really great. There's not a lot of drop off in this particular sample, but that's okay. And then let's say that I want to set up my Z stack. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm focusing towards one edge. I click begin. I'm focusing towards another edge. I click end, and then I'm going to be recentering that Z stack if I want to here. I do like to go towards the middle of it to see, and then we're recentering it around that, what it is, the beginning and the end. So I also just sometimes like to double check that my beginning looks good. I'm clicking next to it. My end looks good. I'm clicking next to it, and my middle value is looking great.
So I do not have to turn off same stack for all regions. I do not have to add it to a particular area because once I define my XY region, it's going to use these focus points to then reset that Z stack around the focus points. So right here that we have within our focus map. I used to have y'all like reattach it. You only need to turn off same stack for all regions and redefine stack if you are doing multiple ROIs, multiple regions. So I'm just going to throw this on a really low scan mode just to kind of show this real quick what that looks like. Well, 16 ends up being really gross. Let's do 128. Okay. And what I want to say, actually, I should have stopped that, sorry, is the now down here, this time number underneath the start button, the actual time that's given is significantly more accurate than what it was previously. And it's just going to go through, it's going to take that Z stack and then adjust that Z stack for those particular time points or those particular focus points that we did set. And then it should be a beautiful Z stack that takes into account the differences across Z within the actual slide itself. So, for watching my video. I hope it was informative. I know I might talk a little bit fast. I'm really happy to sit down with any of y'all and talk about this in person. I would just reiterate the difficult thing is how to be able to access gain on those detectors. So sorry for that. Okay, bye. Have a good day.